But if you don't know what it is and you tell everybody, fine, you haven't acknowledged to yourself how you're feeling, so you can't support yourself, and you haven't acknowledged it to that other person so they can't support you in the way they need to, right? Like the whole aspect of not being able to name emotions, it's not even just like having the name, it's the range.
Welcome back to the podcast. I started this podcast as a way to help Black men in all aspects of our lives. Studies show on average we lose 2.8 years of our life when we're under heavy stress. And I think we can gain those 2.8 years back if we express ourselves healthily. Stick with me as I interview therapists, doctors, advocates, activists, and friends about how we can be better as Black men and as a Black community. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube and following us on Instagram and TikTok, you'll definitely want to do that. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Y'all, I'm here with Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin is a licensed psychologist and a professor and scientist at TSU. Dr. Martin, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you. I've been following you on social media for a while. I've seen, yes, I appreciate it. Yes, I've seen you when your platform was smaller, and I've seen like the expansion and the growth. And I was always, when your platform was small, I was always like, she should have a larger platform. She should have a larger platform. And I just wait and I watch and I was like, okay, here it goes. Now it's happening. So I'm just glad to see all the growth and like how everything is like panned out for you over the like year or so.
Let me ask you something. From the beginning of smaller platform to now, have you noticed any change in like?
No. You all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah.
You all the way through. Yes. Yeah. You're you all the way through, and I love it.
Your post. Yep, because I see you're the first. You're actually one of the main reasons why I actually look at my interactions, like the posts. You have those posts, like, I mean, so y'all saved it but try and share it.
Yeah.
Or, like,
yeah. I'll go and look because that's what people do. Anytime I talk, and not to get too explicit, but the community knows I talk about sex on the podcast all the time. But anytime I talk about sex or libido or anything relationship related, it'll get a lot of saves, but not a lot of shares. And I assume I contribute that to the fact that, just as men, sometimes, we don't want other people to know where things are coming from or where we get information from and all that kind of stuff. And so we can be a little bit protective about how we share. And especially if I'm talking about certain things that men don't want people to know that they're potentially struggling with, they don't want to share it. So like, I remember somebody saying that when I put up a post, I was like, oh, so y'all save this and then share it, right? And people were like, well, I don't want people to know where I'm getting my information from. I was like, that makes sense. But still share it in your group chat, right? Like there's still ways in which you can share it. And that helps us, right? Like as creators, like a lot of times people are like, well, the saves help you a lot with the algorithm. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Nothing helps more than actually sharing it to your audience and the people that you actually know. Word of mouth, all of those things really matter. So whenever you see someone that has a platform and you really mess with them, talk about them, share it, like talk about what they talk about. Because that helps the word to get out, and that helps them to find whether it be customers, followers, business partners, whatever the case may be. Everything that has happened with the platform has happened organically through the community. Like, so.
Yeah, especially being Black. I mean, because like, some people like, we don't just do anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll get talked about. I always add captions, but I had to delete my captions app because I got too many videos on my phone. But people, so like people are like, oh, I don't have captions. So I add a caption. And then I noticed my views went down. And then one of my friends, two of them, like Portia and Rebecca, they're on Instagram and TikTok. And they're like, given the topics you talk about, spelling out the words racism, spelling out the words bias, even spelling out Black will impact the way your videos get pushed out. Yep. So I was like, I can either add captions and add it for a greater audience and make them more, have greater capability. And even in adding captions and making it more accessible and technically making it less accessible, because when they see those buzzwords, then it's an issue. And then the only way to fix that is to edit the captions more, which takes more time, which is more exhausting, which means I'm going to put out less stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just
Black text. That's what I call all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you've got people going viral for going like.
And I'm out here trying to save lives.
Over here trying to say, dude, I say this all the time. I'm like, man, Joe, just pay off my loans, bro. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm over here trying to save people, man.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I thought. Yeah. Like, I'm at a point right now where for me, like none of this is about like getting crazy rich and like super famous or anything like that. Like it's never been that for me. I just want to have enough money to be comfortable. Once I get to that point, like everything after that will be, in my opinion, like used to help push and help other men. So like I really, and I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody creating a platform and wanting to be wealthy, whatever the case may be. But that's just not me. Like I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in being comfortable enough to the point where I could say, okay, my family's taken care of, these things are taken care of, and then trying to use what I have to try and better the lives of others. So like, and that's what I've been doing, right? Like I have a 9-to-5. That's why I still work the 9-to-5. Because if I didn't work the 9-to-5, like I would be going really hard to try and monetize a platform. I probably have ads and all these different things on there that just doesn't make it as safe of a place for some people, right? So now that I'm able to support myself with the 9-to-5, I try and put that time, that extra time that I have and that money that I have to try and like build the platform, which is why we have what we have today, man. So yeah, man, I'm excited to have you. I know today has been kind of a bit of a heavy day for the Black mental health community. So Twitch died by suicide yesterday. It was just confirmed, I think, today. And so like anytime I see that, I was just telling my bros, we were talking about it in our group chat, it always hits me because, especially when it's a Black man, because of the platform, I just feel like, I personally feel like, and I start taking it personal, like I feel like we failed him, right? We as in the platform, like we didn't get to him in time, or we didn't offer the right resource, or whatever the case may be. And I know that's not necessarily true, but at the same time, it just hits different when I see it when I see a Black man, especially a Black man. Like Twitch is someone like, man, like I didn't know him personally. I didn't really watch the Ellen show like that. I didn't follow his life like that or anything like that. But anything that I saw of Twitch, I was like, yeah, this guy seems mad. Like he seems happy. You know what I'm saying? Like he seemed like everything was good. And as much as I know that that's not an indication that everything is good, it always shocks me to see someone that I can only see as like smiling and like happy and joyful. It always shocks me to see that, hear about someone like that taking their life, man. So obviously rest in peace to him, and sending condolences and love and support to his family, because that's very tough. I was just thinking about it today, like, yo, his wife has to go through the process of grieving, but then also talking to children about what happened, and like it's just a lot, man. Like it's a lot. So I'm interested in hearing your perspective and anything that you wanted to add to it.
I feel like it's always really difficult for me to see. And we talked about this before when we were like checking in. It's so hard in this aspect of, as a Black mental health clinician and as a Black woman, I am very much a girl's girl. I very much believe in like the power of like just my women friends and them piping me up and all this other stuff. I've also been with my husband for 12 years and I have 2 boys.
Oh yeah, you did talk about that. Yeah, you're in the battling.
I'm surrounded by men, and girl, I just knew I was about to have like another like Bill Hooks and Maya in the crib. It didn't happen. But like, it's so tough because when I see the aspects of like mental health stuff with Black men, and even just seeing Black men more on media, I will state that I pay attention to it more after having children than I did beforehand. Because most of my stuff worked primarily like with Black girls, and I didn't know, I didn't watch the Ellen show. I honestly have like a really weird thing with TV, just because I've been in training for so long that like I will just catch up on, it won't be this extreme, but like I will just be like, oh, Martin was actually a good show. I had just watched it because my mom ain't really allowed TV like that. And then from 20s on, I was in school the whole time, so I missed a bunch of stuff. But even now watching TV, I recognize this man's face, which is saying a lot, because like, most of the time, unless you're on the back of a book cover or it's something by like Issa Rae or Quinta Brunson, or I don't really know the shows like that. And I too always remember seeing him just like smiling and dancing and I distinctly remember him. What is it? Like, he's married. He has 3 kids.
Yeah.
On the popular show with Ellen, because like I remember saying you could get paid, and like always just very friendly and polite. But I also like, as a mental health clinician, and maybe as a psychologist, as someone who's like around like Black men, and I consider my husband to be like the textbook Black man. Like I feel like anybody watching this knows what that means. Like, you certainly just Black men. Like, I like what I like. I do my job. Because I need to be fit myself. I'm about to pay for this. We still gotta have about pronouns sometimes. Like typical like old Black.
Yeah.
That's my. To which people are very surprised. To like, how do you deal with her? Maybe like, it's hard. It's really hard. But seeing the intricacies of like, sometimes I have conversations and I'll see that I have to pull stuff out of him. But when I do, it's like a huge conversation. But if I never, brought that out, it makes me think of so much that men just like keep in. Don't really think about the salience of it coming out, just because it's just normalized. And it's not like he over here, telling me like every single aspect of his thoughts, but he'll say stuff and I'm like, man, that is a very, I don't want to push it. Because then, like, all right, now stop getting too jail.
Put the doctor hat down.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a statement like, because apparently I have a psychologist tell him sometimes. He's like, nope.
You should write down. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like there's so much salience in like the things that are shared that I'm just like, I never asked you that. You never would have shared that. And I think that a lot when I say like that, so many times when people, especially Black people, die by suicide, we take it on ourselves. Even like in you stating that, like I'm sitting here thinking, because this is not just about you and like you failing. And it's not even just about mental health, like as a profession. When we look at this and people will do multiple things. One, they'll always state like, depression is, has so many different faces. One, I would like to share that depression is not the only reason why individuals decide they no longer want to be on this earth. Two, it's not only about mental health. It's about like, you can go to therapy every single week. You can go to therapy every single day. But when you leave therapy, do you have to go to a trash world where people make trash assumptions about you and just behave in a way that is awful? And I don't even think it starts with adulthood. I think it starts at childhood in the way that we're rearing children. I keep seeing all these videos of people disciplining their children in just these abhorrent ways. I always want to say, like, when people discuss like suicide and they only discuss the mental health aspect of like therapy, they're missing it. Because I can go to therapy every single week and I can still face racism, and what will be better? Less racism. I would give up my therapy. I would give up my psychologist today in lieu of like, okay, so you can give up your psychologist and then we'll be done with racism. That's actually probably 50-60% of what I talk to my psychologist about. So I'll put it out and figure it out, right? It's not just about like the mental health aspect. It's about like the world that we're in. We'll never fully understand the intricacies of what he was dealing with as a father, as a Black man, as someone in a public era. But like, we can understand the way that we engage with people, and we can acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of people out here acting like trash individuals. They're not making this world a place that people want to stay welcome in. Like in the first, like, it's not just depression. I think that's so limiting, and it's not just therapy.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's one thing that you talk about a lot, right? Like you dive into the fact that we need to talk more about racism related stress, and I know that's something that you prioritize, I think, with your clients, and just I think a lot of the work that you do is around racism related stress and just racism and how it affects us as Black people. So can you talk to us a little bit more about why that's so important and why it's important for you to highlight that?
I think because when I was earlier on, I used to call it race related stress. And one thing, if anyone follows me knows that like I'm real chill about most stuff. When people use words wrong, it really irritates the crap out of me, because they'll use it wrong in the most annoying way, and I'll be like, oh no, that's not what that means. Words mean things, and I feel like if we put more salience to our words, we could stop saying stupid statements like, oh, I was just saying that, or I ain't mean that. I used to say race related stress, and then the more I was like in training, I'm like, well, race isn't the issue, because it's not the fact that I'm Black. It's the way that people react to the fact that I'm Black. It's not race, it's racism, right? And it's about the aspect of like discrimination. It's about the fact that like in 2018 was the APHA, American Public Health Association, they deemed racism and discrimination a public health crisis. the prevalence rate were impacting individuals so much. It's about the fact that like discrimination of children, like the adultification and dehumanization of children will make it so that children, black boys, black girls, non-binary children be more likely to be disciplined in schools, less likely to be given the opportunity to learn and grow, right? Like, because if you're a child, the aspect of childhood is like being protected and having understanding. If you don't see our community, if you don't see Black children as children, then you're not providing them with the grace of like freedom of just growing and learning, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the fact that like just discrimination, racism, and perceived daily discrimination impacts your sleep, your blood pressure, your frustration tolerance. You know, it's about the fact that like I can go to my doctor and there are still doctors who feel like I have thicker skin. It's about the fact that like it starts from birth, where Black children are 50% more likely to be born preterm and low birth rate. What else? I mean, you know, this is what I do. What else is there? It's about housing. It's about the fact that like they just they just published that FHA housing report. And I think it said that like homes in Black neighborhoods were devalued by like a couple $100,000 to the point where this is how bad Black people are, yo. Because like we'd be like, we're not playing. It was this couple and they're both professors at Johns Hopkins University. This was this year.
Oh, I think I noticed. Yeah, go get it. Yeah, I think I saw this. Yeah, get it.
And they were like, in the DMV area. So you know them houses go for like a lot. When I trained at Hopkins, I was like, oh, I'm gonna live in my apartment forever. I didn't never move. Right. So they got an appraisal. And the appraisal was like, they were like, oh no, this is too low. There ain't no way. We can't go. Right. So then what they did was they removed all pictures of like that with evidence that they're Black, which is like all Black homes. Cause let me tell you something, you come in here, it's Black and brown everywhere. Like, you know, you want to be, I very much talk about like building the community in your home too, because like, you know, the world is such a difficult place for Black people overall. When you come home, your children need a safe space to land. You need a safe place to land. Your partner needs a safe space to land. Ain't no whole like, it's tough out there, so I'm gonna prepare you. The world is tough out there, so this ain't gonna be it. You know, you're gonna chill. They removed all this stuff from their home, and I think it was like $230,000 more their house was appraised for by the next person. Even about the NFL, where, you know, with and you know, I could go all day. I told you this is gonna be a problem.
No, it's cool. I like it.
Dude, it's what you do. It's about the NFL, where they you know, you have concussions, right? And concussions can lead to dementia and CTE. You can't test for CTE until, you know, death or whatever like that. But as a result, you know, when they lose their jobs because of that, it affects their quality of life, they sue. Mm-hmm. That's what you do. Like, sue employers. The NFL participated in race norming because in the way to see like the concussions impacted your well-being, you get an assessment from a neuropsychologist and they test it. They participated in race norming. Race norming means it's the assumption that Black people have lower cognitive abilities to start with. Right? So if we're starting you off with a lower cognitive ability and then you get a concussion and your cognitive ability only decreases a little bit according to what they normed it as, we can't show that you have a low quality of life from the concussion. It's like, oh no, you're Black, so your cognitive skills have always been low, which impacted the amount of people who got Black people getting payouts, Black people getting I mean, that's their whole job. Like, you go to the NFL, that's your job. Like, right. So them being able to get payouts, them being able to get money because they participated in race norming, stating that like your score was already low because you're Black, so we're not going to pay you because of it.
Yeah,
it's about it's everywhere. Even medical apparatus are norms wrong. Like the pulse oximeters, which tell you how much oxygen is in your blood, which is really, we should be able to tell how much oxygen is in your blood. They don't work as well for people with dark skin. If my doctor thinks my skin is I have poor pain, have high pain sensitivity, think my skin is thicker, and can't tell how much oxygen is in my blood, I mean, I might as well go home and not pay for this emergency room bill because I'm out to die. You know, like there's so issues and it's everywhere. So like when people try to like tap out of like racism related stress or not training and think it doesn't impact Black people, there's no realm at which it wouldn't impact you. Have you ever been to a doctor? Have you ever been to school? Have you ever been engaged in the world? Have you ever, I don't know, looked at sports? Have you ever, you know, not felt affirmed in the way that you wanted to express your sexuality? Most of that is racism. Like so many times they'll talk about, like with your platform, which is so good of like expressing yourself, even that is an act of resistance, right? Even stating like, yo, let's talk about it, is an act of resistance for Black men. Black men who are consistently shut down from talking about stuff. Do your job, shut up, we ain't got time for this.
Right.
Do it with a smile. Right. Lower your tone. You don't need to talk about emotion, that's female stuff. right? Like even just saying like, oh, yo, this is a community where we talk about everything from like breakups to like sex to sport. Like we talk about it. That's what we do. That's an act of resistance. That's activism, right? Because so many times we'll see stuff where it talks about like toxic black masculinity. I get asked about this all the time, and I'll be like, well, now let's see if we're using that word right. Because Ijoma Olu, who I'm like a fangirl, but she wrote these she wrote like Let's Talk About Race and White Mediocrity. And she has this one part where she's talking about when she developed the book, thought of the idea for White Mediocrity, the book. And she was like, some things just work by design, like they work how they're supposed to. Like, let's talk about the police. The police historically were, the whole aspect of why they were created was to capture enslaved Africans, right? To imprison our bodies and beat and brutalize and bring us back to our captures, our enslavers. So like, does the police system not work, or does it work by design, right? I feel the same way when it comes to like, to a certain extent, like the aspect of toxic black masculinity, right? Like when you take something generationally from like generation after generation. Now I'm not absolving nobody of nothing, because like some men, y'all need to chill. Like if I see another podcast with one of y'all, I'm like, yours is cool. Yours, and when yours gets to the point where it's not, I'm gonna tell you. But like if I see another, I mean, I'd be like,
you and me both, bro. Trust me.
Like, and the reason why I see them is because my husband be watching them cracking up. This man be cracking up at this.
Oh, yeah.
He thinks it's amusing. He thinks it's amazing. He used to, the only reason why I heard about Kevin Samuels, this fool be watching him on the couch cracking up. And he used to have that soundbite, I got a PhD, and he would play that on me all the time. And I would be like, I'm gonna
tell you something real quick. First of all, you said if my podcast is never gonna get there, I'm gonna let you know that right.
And better, but listen, even if you skate along the line, I'm gonna be like, damn, Kizzle was cool. Nah. I'm gonna have to stitch this now.
It's never gonna get there, because I'm not into that, right? Like that's not my lane. What a lot of, and I say this all the time on the podcast, I'll just get into my little tidbit real quick about that. What a lot of black men are doing in the podcast space is they're capitalizing on other black men's lack of emotional intelligence and lack of understanding the dating scene and just partners and people in general. Lack of knowledge on psychology, right? Because I can listen to a podcast clip and within 5 to 10 seconds, I can understand where that man is at in his healing journey, and I can understand where his audience is at in theirs. And when I see, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I get disappointed. I get disappointed because I see people from my community liking it. And I'm like, bro, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all following me if y'all liking this? What are we doing here? Why are y'all here? So I'm gonna tell people straight up, like, bro, if I see y'all from the Expressions of Black Man community in these other black podcasts, the ones that y'all know y'all not supposed to be watching, not laughing, nothing, it's not supposed to be entertainment, I'm about to start blocking y'all because y'all not doing the work.
Isn't it not supposed to be entertainment? You know what the issue is? Part of it, like, people will think, podcasts. I mean, taking people to podcast on forever. This ain't nothing but AM radio. Ain't nothing.
It's radio, yeah. It's just more accessible radio, yeah. It's
just more accessible, right? Like because you could just do it from your phone. People who need to be represented more, people whose narratives need to be shared without having to apply for a job and get paid low wages, have the ability to do it, right? But like, I think the aspect is like, I was going through the realm of, they're supposed to be educational. But at this point, I really do realize that people are really doing it more so for like.
It's really entertainment. It is and it's not entertainment. And this is what I wanted to say, right? So what I was initially saying is a lot of the black men in the podcast space that are in the relationship space, they're capitalizing on the lack of emotional intelligence that a lot of black men have. And then also the lack of just awareness and psychology knowledge that a lot of black men, a lot of black men don't have that knowledge, right? So when it comes to getting relationship advice and they're looking at these black podcasters that really aren't interested in whether they give you good advice or not, what they're really truly interested in is, what can I say, right? What can I say that's going to drive people nuts? What can I say that's going to drive the most engagement? You have to understand that social media, and I always say this, anybody that listens to me, listens to the podcast, knows that I preach this over and over and over again. Social media is driven by engagement. People are on social media. Once they start developing a platform, a lot of people are like, what can I do to make sure that I keep this engagement up? This is how a lot of people are eating. A lot of people that y'all watch for podcasts are broke. They don't have a job. All they're doing is creating that podcast and creating content. So for them, it's not about integrity. It's not about helping you. It's about what can I do to make sure I eat tomorrow. So I'm going to say whatever I need to say to make sure I go viral, because this is what I'm doing to feed myself. Don't be fooled. That's why I always,
my family.
yeah, for real. That's why I always tell people I got a 9 to 5, bro. Tomorrow I could quit this whole shit, excuse my language, and be good. So I don't want anybody thinking, yo, I do this for the bread or I'm doing this for engagement. No, I don't give a damn. I do this because I care about people, bro. Like, I have a job. I'm good. But a lot of these people that y'all watch are not in that place. And once they start getting a little bread and they start seeing a little engagement, they're like, what can I do to keep on squeezing this out? Oh, I talked about black women and I said something crazy about black women. So all the black women was in my comments. I got to say the same thing the next podcast and the next one. And I'm going to get some more black women and then I'm going to disrespect them. And then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that because I saw that work on that other podcast. And now we're in group chats talking about what we can do to make sure that we can scale our platforms, even though we know this is not helping, but we don't really care because all we care about is engagement and bread.
Because comments equal engagement. Like, that's what they're looking at.
Comments, shares, saves, all of that creates engagement. Engagement is bread. Engagement is money. So that's why I tell people, like, bro, y'all got to understand what's going on behind the scenes. Like, everybody out here, watch time, all of that. Everybody out here isn't out here to help you, bro. You got to be able to discern that.
Yeah.
You got to be able to discern that.
The issues is, like, people will go one or two ways, because I've seen some people that I enjoyed following in the beginning. You can either, like, go to what you're talking about, which is, like, the more extreme, or people will go to the more palatable route.
Yeah.
And I was told multiple times, like, people like, oh, I like your content. I'm so surprised. This is like, you don't have a bigger platform to this day. And they're like, you know what it could be? Nope, because I ain't asked. They're like, say, women in general instead of black women. Nope.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Maybe, do some general psych topics. No.
Maybe you need to stop giving me maybes. How about that?
Right? Even, like, the reason why I came to mental health, like, came to social media, because, like, social media is very not who I am as a person. I begrudgingly doing social media.
You and me both.
Dude, because I'm like, man, these people out here, I'm going to cuss people out. And I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the misconception was the fact that maybe I couldn't cuss people out no more. Well, those are actually my most highly engaged ones. I'd be like, oh, don't let these credentials fool you. I love a good hood jam. I will cuss you out for fun. It's like, but I was working and I was like training and I had my patients and then my caseload filled up and there was no way that, like, it was going to not fill up anytime soon. My caseload fills up anywhere. I'm a black doctor. I have some semblance of chill and people can look at me and be like, you know what the Black Album is? I do. So,
you are,
like, you in, right? So I was like, man, I started feeling anxiety because I was like, man, I can't, there's only so much work you can do. There's only so much you can help, especially for someone who's trying to contribute to their community, because I very much see my job as a form of activism. There's only so much you can do with your caseload.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much I can do with seeing like 15, 20, 30 people a week, right? Which is why I do so many different realms, which is why I teach, which is why I do research, which is why I do clinical practice. I'm probably always going to be in all three realms because they, one, inform everything that I do. I feel like if you stay in one realm, you're going to miss something. And two, like, it's a way to like reach more people, right? But it was more so I was like, I guess I'll get on this interwebs and like post some videos and stuff. And like my stuff has been, that stuff been stagnant for a minute. I'm like, well, I'm just posting for the 5 people who like to kick it with me. Y'all either gonna like it, y'all not gonna like it. Like, I'm gonna just post, and I posted significant stuff like Black mental health. But I feel like with more people doing that, it's helpful. I feel like more people building communities like this is more helpful. But I think when it comes to the whole aspect of that, like, people need to realize, one time someone was like, you just did this for the engagement. I said, this ain't my job, bro. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, bro.
This ain't my, first of all, please. All right. I ain't never been told I've been doing something to be likable. It's actually been the opposite. Like, hey, yo, you could just chill. You'll probably get more bees with sugar. I was like, I don't know freaking bees. What are you talking about? Like, I know what I want. But people need to realize that, like, when this is individuals' jobs, I've seen people go one or two ways. I've seen them oscillate to like being like more extreme. I've also seen people be way more palatable. And I don't know which disappoints me more. With you. Like, I don't know if it disappoints me more for you like tripping and one of those polarizing topics, or you being more palatable, and now instead of talking about Black health and well-being, you're talking about everybody. Because I thoroughly believe when you're trying to serve everyone, you serve no one, right? Like, even just looking at health in the African diaspora, I think people will assume that like, oh, she's Black, so she just gets it. I read constantly. Like, it's not even just this certain stuff you only get by living in your Black skin, but like as an educator, as a scientist, as a clinician, it's literally my job to think. So I probably know more than just like novels and documentaries, and I should probably know, journals. I should probably know podcasts. I should probably know what's going on in the world. Like, if I wasn't as plugged in, I couldn't do my patients, my students, research or service. Right. And I feel like people who make this their job, they're at their behest of like, I'm doing what I need to do for my family.
Right.
So when females ain't worth a damn, that was like $100-$200 check right there. Now, no disrespect to females, but all disrespect to females. I need to pay my bills. Like, it's just like, I'm saying to females because they say females to women. I'm not saying that because that's what I refer to, but that's like, these females. And I'll be like, I don't know these females. Female what? Female dogs, female mice, because females is not even, that's like female what? Female humans? Oh, you mean women? Women? Oh, I was confused because when you said females, I naturally assumed you were talking about animals.
You know what's so funny? I always had this conversation with my bros, because some of my bros still say females, right? And I remember when I was in college, I had one of my, like, she was maybe a year ahead of me. And I'm coming from New York, so I'm used to saying female. So I'm saying female.
I mean, I'm
female. Yeah, all that females. Females doing that. Female. And she's like, what do you mean females? You mean women?
Is that how she sounds?
No, that's not how she sounds. That's the voice.
Yeah, I know. My God. Look at how quickly you default. She don't sound like that. She did not sound like that. No, absolutely.
My girl hates when I do that. But yeah, so she basically, she's telling me, right, like, what do you mean? You mean women, right? I'm like, what's the difference? It's not that big of a deal. Females, y'all call us males, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Listen, I say women. I obviously understand it now. And so what I try to explain to men is like, bro, the same thing that you just said. Female can be anything, and it can come off disrespectful. So just say women, bro. Like, it's really not that hard. It's not that hard, bro. It's really not. So
I feel like people don't get that you can, like, just like you said, females can be anything. Women is a human term. And the reason why you can curse on this. The reason why, right?
Yeah.
The reason why when people say female, I'm like, so you calling me a bitch? Like, that's the quickest way. I'm like,
That's how you feel?
That's how you feel, Avery? I'm gonna forget all of who I am now, and I'm gonna remember everywhere I came from. I'm gonna show about, because that's what it is. That's the same as like when I called somebody an unstable creature in a meeting, and only the Black people in the room cracked up because they got it. I'm gonna say the word. I said, I'm like, it sounds like you being an unstable creature right now, bro. And they were like, but the guy didn't get it. I knew he wasn't gonna get it because he was Black.
So do you feel like men saying females is synonymous with the B word?
You call me a female, you call me a bitch.
I don't.
And I'm gonna respond accordingly.
I don't feel like every man. Maybe that is for some men. That definitely wasn't it for me.
Well, no, but it is for some men. I don't see men. In the tone at which I hear men say females. In the topic of which I hear men say females. Most of the time you calling us bitches without calling us bitches anyway, right? Like, because I took her out and she was tripping, and then this female gonna say something. I don't hear men saying, the woman, the female that I married is just an amazing light in my life. I'm very happy for these 2 female kids I got as well. I try to support them and honor them. That's not the talent. When I hear men saying female, it'd be like, bro, this female over here, I over here took her out, did all this, and then she got a nerve to tell me, she got a 3-date. I said, what the fuck? Like that's the tone. You ever hear somebody say, I'm in love with the female I married? Strong female kids. I really appreciate the female that raised me. I ain't never heard no man say that in my life. The tone in which people say female, I'm like, well, just say what you want to say. Just say what you want to say.
Damn,
yeah. That's
Damn.
not what people say stuff without saying it. I know what you mean.
Nah, you know what's wild though? I really tried to defend men just now, and I was like, yeah, nah, everybody saying, but now that I think about it, the tone does matter because the way in which, like the tone and the context, I think matters. Because you also talked about context and like how females as a word is used versus women. Like I do not hear dudes saying, I love my female.
And you're not going to? Like, I would.
Yo, that's crazy.
They know what
wow.
Y'all know what y'all doing. Ain't nobody stupid out here, yo. Like, like nobody is stupid out here. Just say it. You think you safe with saying that. You're not.
Yo.
I'd be like, say what you mean. Because I'm going to respond like you said it anyway. So you might as well get it out. Go ahead and say it. Because that's what I heard anyway. So that's how I'm going to respond.
Wow.
Something as simple as that can be more respectful and have your conversation be received in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And engaging. And there ain't a woman alive out here who want to be called a female. She gonna cuss you out. I don't know not one, and I know many women. Like, I don't want to be like, well, how do you feel of being called a female? What? Who called me a female? Like, ain't nobody call you. I'm just asking a general question. Like, put the shame down. Like, I feel like most women would say that. Like, it's not. Ask your community. Put this in your thing, and when this comes, comment below. Y'all tell me the number of times y'all call someone a female out of a term of endearment. Y'all tell me if you would call your mom that you love a female. And then I want to see you do it. And I want to see her respond. Because y'all, people be lying on here. I'll be like, yeah, videotape it. I want to see you calling your mom. Sure.
Yeah, female is not a term of endearment. It's not.
Love of my life, woman. You don't even have to do the term of endearment. The best term of endearment is, hey, here's some cash.
Oh my God.
I booked a reservation to go out to eat.
Not here some cat.
You can call those terms of endearments. Like, you ain't even, term of endearment to me is, hey, I'm getting these kids out your face. I think dinner. You ain't even got to think about it because you terrible at choosing dinner anyway. Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a whole other, yo. Jesus Christ. Can I ask you this question? I'm going to ask you this question real quick. I'm going to put my business out there just because I need to know. So I've been in multiple relationships. And I feel like I, as a man, can meal prep, right? So like, let's say I make spaghetti on Sunday. I can
spaghetti.
Because I'm struggle meals, man. All right, let's say, all right. Let's say I make salmon, mashed potatoes, and broccoli on Sunday. All right, let's say I make salmon. We already can't even get the meal right. You already can't even get the meal right.
The relationship with Black people and spaghetti. My God, like all of us have that. I almost got to stop with saying fish and spaghetti don't go together. Listen, the Black people.
Well, I'm not eating fish and spaghetti. Well, actually, technically, I do. That's wild, because I do eat shrimp. I make some shrimp pasta, but we off topic. Okay, so listen, salmon, mashed potatoes, and broccoli, right? I make salmon, mashed potatoes, and broccoli on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And I cook it for the entire, like, it can last the whole week. Why isn't that? Let's, hold on. Let's get rid of salmon. Let's put something else in there, chicken or something, right? Huh? What happened? Listen, look, let's put chicken in there, right? Let's put chicken in there. Chicken, and it can last for the whole week, okay? why is it that on Tuesday, the women that I've been with want something completely different?
Just because it can last the whole week don't mean I want to be eating on chicken a whole flipping week. Am I prepping for a professional like lifting competition or something? Like, is there something I'm gaining from eating grilled chicken? I mean, like, what? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. Doesn't mean I want to do it. Okay.
Why do y'all need a different meal every other day? Why didn't eat the same meal that was prepared on Sunday?
Let me tell you something. Some people ask why, other people ask why not. Why can I not have a different? I'm gonna give you one better. Why can I not have a different meal? Have I not earned that?
No, you have. You actually have.
And you know what? As someone who does meal prep, this is how we do it. We rotate. One person will do the dinner of the week, another person will do the lunch. I mean, divvy up the chicken, yo. Like, okay, so you can make like chicken tenders or whatever, and then like chicken thighs and stuff like that, cook them joints, and you can vary the sauce. You could do like a Greek one where you add a little, cut up a pita, put that joint in there for 2 days. You can do like some kind of, and add some like tzatziki or whatever. You can do like a fajita one where on those 2 days you do like peppers and stuff like that, and you add some of the paprika and stuff. And then you could do another, what's another joint? You could do like a spaghetti-esque one where you dice up some tomatoes and put some sauce in there, put some noodles with it. It's still the same chicken, but I need some variety. Like,
wow.
All the time I used to eat like that is when I was lifting like twice a day, and it's like, yo, we ain't got time for this. We too tired to live. Like, am I prepared for a competition? I can't. Can I have a little diced tomatoes? Can we add some tzatziki or something? Like, cut up some peppers? I know you ain't. You just told me to eat unprovoked. You want me to eat. What did I do? My first question will be like, are you mad at me? What did I do? I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry.
Yo, why do y'all go straight to the emotion? Like, why?
You to deserve chicken 5 days a week. You ain't even give me like thighs or a drumstick. We just eating chicken breast. I gotta drink a whole cup of water with my lunch.
I feel like most men that are listening right now are like, yo, bro, I can eat chicken 5 days, like the same meal. And that's what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, I feel like most men can eat the same meal 5 days out of the week. Like, man, we may need to switch it up the next week. But for the week, like for dinner, yeah, I'm straight. But on Tuesday, I feel like most women are like, yo, no, come on, bro. Even if y'all cooked it, even if y'all wanted it the day before, like the next day, y'all like, man, we need something else. We need to make something else.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time. Make a whole meal. My husband like, do you want any more of this? Like, nah, I already had that yesterday. And coming from my family, I legit don't know how to cook for like a reasonable amount of people.
So you both cook. Yeah, you cook like
you cook it for all these people. And then it's like, oh no, I ain't eating that. Y'all enjoy, or put it in the freezer, and then y'all can have it next week or the week I don't feel like cooking. But let me ask you something. Think about your relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, say that your relationships didn't elevate some aspects. Or my husband, when we first started dating, I met him when I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, all his favorite restaurants had drive-thrus. I ain't never.
Had what?
All his favorite restaurants had drive-thrus. Like, legit. Like, or like he wore basketball shorts a lot. And I would just be like, hey, did you just come from playing basketball? No. Are you going to play basketball after this? No. Why are you wearing, like, what's going on? Bruh.
Y'all was 20. That's different. 20 is like, I was.
And yet, no. He used to have this thing, because I would want to go to like random restaurants, like, I don't know, like Field Chains or Cheesecake Factory, and we.
Wear shorts there?
No, he would be like, I mean, I can't just keep going to these special occasion restaurants on a Tuesday. It ain't even Friday. Special occasion restaurants. What do you mean? I'm not about to. He said, it's a Tuesday, Raquel. I'm not like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, special occasion restaurant?
Yo.
And I was just like, can you honestly say, and now, I mean, can you honestly say, like, when you didn't elevate, like, hey, what if I told you, hey, what if I told you you could get You can make chicken strips that are fresh. You can eat something grilled or a vegetable. There's steamed salmon. Your fish doesn't have to be a fillet of fish with tartar. What if I told you?
Nah, I'll be honest. Like, I'll be honest. I'll be very honest with you. Like, my girl has definitely elevated my life, without a doubt.
Y'all be living in squalor. Y'all be living in squalor.
I mean, I wasn't in squalor now, but
I think squalor is 5 days of chicken, and that's where you at.
Come on now. That's
squalor in the eye of the beholder.
That is not accurate. But nah, I'll be honest though. Like, without a doubt though, like seriously, she's definitely elevated my life, like truly, because there's so many different areas and things that us as men that we just aren't as polished on. Like, even like with business, my girl is not a quote unquote entrepreneur, right? But there's so many things that she helps me with when it comes to business that I probably wouldn't have handled as well if I didn't have. So, like, case in point, meetings with people, partnership conversations, just talking through conflict, figuring out conflict resolution, how to handle situations. Like, well, because my ego will sometimes have me thinking like, man, fuck these niggas, man. Like, that's where I'll go. And it's like, bro, well, yeah, it's like, bro, well, you can't be on some fuck these niggas if your partners are the niggas. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you can't just try and destroy this whole thing because your ego's out of whack right now, bro. And she literally will reel me in when I'm having these moments. I would have really probably obliterated. I probably not, you know what I'm saying? I have emotional intelligence, but there's certain things that I feel like I get to a limit, and she'll help me to kind of adjust and see things from a different perspective. And she's helped me a lot with the business on the back end. So she's not an entrepreneur, quote unquote, right? But in terms of like communication, helping me through conflict resolution, and then other aspects of my life, personal life, all that kind of stuff, like she's definitely has scaled my life up. And I always tell her, like, I don't think the platform will be where it's at if it was just me by myself. Like, if I was single right now, like, or if I was single when I started the platform, I don't think it would have scaled to where it was at. Or I probably would have did something dumb and something would have happened. So,
but let me ask you though, like, do you think this is another example of like it works by design? Because like from childhood, women given more leeway, like women are given more leeway to learn about like a variety of topics, to learn a bunch of different skills, because it's understood that Black women are supposed to save us all and be able to be like on top of everything. As much as like Black women aren't in leadership positions at corporate or at work, it's very much expected for us to like come in and take the reins and handle situations. Versus men, like Black boys and Black children, not granted the opportunity to like express emotions or have emotional IQ, oftentimes being limited when it comes to like different realms or fields of employment, or even just stuff that you enjoy because you got to get a job and like support a family financially. Even just having to like just think about the difference in the salience of like, you know, most of the time people in relationships are elevate each other because you're having a different perspective. But I also see it as like you're elevating each other, specifically like in Black relationships as well, because like men and women are granted different leeways when it comes to different things. Like, likely so, you better get it together because there's no one coming to save you. You better learn how to research this and know that begin with the end in mind. You better figure this out. And you may have Black men may be given that too, but it may be in like a very small realm. Like even the fact that like the disparity between Black men and Black women, Black boys and Black girls who enjoy books, there's no part of me that part of it is because a lot of times Black men can't see themselves in books. There are more Black women authors, and of course we're going to worry about what we know, which is each other and ourselves. But part of it is because the encouragement. You see a little Black girl with a book, she's so smart. The same way you can see a little Black boy with a ball, go ahead and do it like I am one. You know, like part of it is also because this is working by design. Like this is working from the way. That from childhood, the realms that you were allowed to be in, the experiences that you were allowed to have. So you better get out that book. You better go figure. You need to learn how to work with your hands. You know, this no matter what. You know, like part of that contributes the whole aspect of like masculine, you know, the idea of like what toxic masculinity is and stuff like that. Part of that is like this stuff works by design. This is the way
things are. The way I see it. The way I see it is like I think about it as like repetitions or like practice, right? So like whoever gets more reps in, whoever gets more practice in, they're going to be more skilled in that area. Black men have not gotten a lot of reps in when it comes to emotional intelligence. Most black men most black men don't have a process that they can name for how they deal with difficult emotions, and probably don't know more than 5 emotions. I'm still struggling. Like if you ask me 5 emotions right now, I probably still struggle to give you 5. Like for real. Like I mean like actual accurate, like this is what I can feel if I'm dealing with this or that, whatever the case may be. Like it's difficult. Like cause we don't spend time like thinking about those things or thinking about the process for those things and like how those things impact us, but they do, right? And so like I think in a relationship, when I have a partner like Naima, that's my girl's name, that's had more reps than me, like that's where I can lean on her wisdom. And that's why I always tell men, is like, bro, when we talk about the leadership thing, I'm always like, bro, y'all need to be listening more than y'all need to be like dictating, like for real. Like most of the times, like when it comes to me with the way that I lead, I listen first, because first of all, I don't even know what the hell I'm be leading if I'm not listening to you. That's one. How you know come on, bro. How you know?
You know what to do. Like, what do the people even want? Like, I'm going to lead you to make a bunch of peanut butter sandwiches. We're allergic. And if you had listened, you would have known that we're all allergic to peanut.
Perfect example is the whole meal thing that we just talked about, right? If I'm not listening to you and I'm thinking that I'm gonna just do it my way and we just gonna make chicken, the chicken that I like, 5 days out of the week, that's what we gonna eat. Tuesday gonna come and now we're having an argument because I'm not listening and I'm not taking back that feedback to try and make sure that I cater to the people that are in my household. So what I say to men is like, bro, like you have to listen first, and then you also have to take that feedback and be flexible. Like I just had a conversation with my therapist about how like I have a plan for what I wanted to do in 2023. I'm like, man, my girl got to get on board and things are not working out the way I thought it was going to work out. And, you know, I don't think she really wants to do this, and this. And, you know, it's bothering me because I wanted to do this, but now things are on hold. And my therapist is listening. My therapist is a black woman, by the way, right? And so she's listening to me. She listened to me. And I finished telling the story and she's like, you know, you have more control in this situation than you think. I think you just don't want to take that control because you're uncomfortable making the decision that you would have to make, which is being flexible about your plan. Like right now, the plan that you have it is not going to work out that way. She's obviously not interested in it working out that way. So now you have a decision to make. You can either try to control things and try and make it happen the way that you want it to happen, which is probably not going to happen because your partner doesn't want it to happen that way. Or you can be flexible and make a different decision, right? And so I think for us is like about not being so rigid with stuff. At least for me specifically, like sometimes I can get super rigid about stuff. It's like, yo, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's supposed to be. This is the plan I have set in stone. It's super simple. Let's all follow it. And it's like, bro, sometimes everybody don't want to follow that plan, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be able to be flexible and roll with the punches and things that come with that. Because if not, then you just cause an unnecessary stress. Like I'm stressing myself out to follow a plan that my partner has already kind of said like, I don't know. And it's not that she's outwardly saying it, but it's through behavior and the way things are going in the relationship that I've noticed, like, okay, this ain't it.
Yeah, because you can tell when something is it. They'd be like, yeah, let's do that. And it's just like, well, you know,
I got this and that, and I don't know, I got to think about it, If you're getting all of those signals, there's a high likelihood that there's some resistance. If there's some resistance, that means there needs to be some exploration and a lot of listening. And potentially some flexibility and some changing of the plan afterwards, because it ain't hit. It's not hitting for them.
And I feel like a lot of times, because like I think ego is the issue with most people, and like I feel like if you're in a long-term relationship, you don't hit some peaks and valleys or whatever to flip. Part of it is also like the thought process of like giving something up that can be difficult. Like for me, overall, like I'm a runner. Like when it comes, like if something act crazy, like my husband will straight up say, like if he make a comment about something going on, you know, this dish ain't clean or something, I'll say something like, I ain't gotta ever watch dishes again in this world. You know, like
you're one of those. You hit the absolute.
Listen, I'm a reformed.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
But I know who I am because I know who I'm not, and I know who I am because I know who I used to be. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to, like super hyper independent. Like I used to have this whole issue when we were dating. My relationship before him, crazy. Like it was nuts. And we would end up in like these screaming fights and stuff like that. So my next relationship, I ain't screaming at nobody. Ain't nobody about to take me out of myself. I'm too old for this. So it would be something like, say it's Tuesday. He says something that pissed me off. I'd be like, all right, I ain't gonna see you till Friday. Don't call me. I'm gonna just check back on Friday. And not because I'm just like, anything I say is not gonna come off right. I don't want to put forth the energy to be an adult because and I say this all the time. I don't want to be an adult all the time. It's exhausting.
Yep.
I want to put forth the energy to be an adult. So I'm gonna just dip. I'm gonna calm down. I'm not gonna give you the opportunity to resolve it with me like an adult, and I'm not gonna give me the opportunity. I'm gonna just dip and I'm gonna see you on Friday. And then at one point I did this again, and he's like, "You won't stop to leave this house, and you're not about to leave. You're not about to see me for 3 days. You gonna have to talk like an adult." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" But part like I didn't believe in my capability to not snap. I didn't believe in mine. This is my previous relationship. I was acting up like dude would be tripping, and I was like, "Oh, you about to raise your voice at me?" I mean, this ain't about to happen. So like the way I decided to adjust was over adjusting. Like instead of having, this difference between screaming and having a conversation, I could have just reached that midpoint and been like, all right, let's chill and have a conversation. But no, I was like, I'm a dip. I'm gonna see you in 3 days. Don't call me. And not like we breaking up, but like, but part of it is like sometimes it would feel like I was giving in just by having a conversation like an adult. Like the flexibility felt like, well, I just want it my way. And not because my way may be the best. Most of the time it is. I'm just going to say that. Most of the time my way is the best. But some of it is because it's just the feeling that it pulls for me. I feel like I'm giving in like a child. It's just like, well, who cares? I mean, the goal is like, it's always like, it's never, you heard the saying, like, it's never you against the person. It's you and the person against the problem. But I wasn't seeing it that way.
Yeah.
I was, as you trying to give me to change my thought process and stuff like that. And just growing and being like, eventually I just got to a point where I was like, man, are we about to break up? No. So I should probably figure this out. And it would just be that simple in terms of like, we got to have a conversation. Like, I mean, ain't no way you going nowhere. Like,
right.
It's the one we were dating. So it had to be as simple as like one day I was just like, I'm over here tripping. I mean, I'm going to keep showing my behind and he's going to be like, I'm out.
Bro,
rightfully.
I'm telling you.
So we were just simple as like, I mean, am I gonna trip or are we gonna like go get some food and we gonna talk about this later? Do I need a minute? Yeah. Like also realizing that what my conflict language is like typically, and this goes to like expressed emotions. Like if you don't have the words for the emotions and you can't understand the range of emotions, like you'll be out here telling people that you're like upset when you're infuriated. And people can handle certain topics and handle certain realms of conflict resolution when they're upset versus when they're infuriated. Like you need different things at different stages of like your level of stress. But if you don't know what it is and you tell everybody fine, you haven't acknowledged to yourself how you're feeling, so you can't support yourself, and you haven't acknowledged it to that other person so they can't support you in the way they need to, right? So like the whole aspect of not being able to name emotions, it's not even just like having the name, it's the range. It's the difference between hungry and famished, sad and ecstatic, tired and fatigued, depressed and sad, angry and infuriated. And you're going to need different things at each of those levels. But if all the emotions are okay, fine, happy, sad, mad, what about disgust? What about shame? What about, like guilty? What about happy, ecstatic, enamored? Like, you need stuff at a different level. And by not, allowing people to take the time to self-monitor and even be able to name those emotions. And most of the time when I'm working with patients, it's like, well, let's identify the emotions, but sometimes it's easier to have a muscle memory. When's the last time you felt like a certain, let's not go with the verbal aspect of it. Tell me some of like the peaks and the pits of your life and the valleys. And like, what emotion would you associate with that? And what did you need during those times? Because one of the biggest questions I ask, like, what did you get versus what did you need? When those things are the same, you'll notice that the situation went fine. But when what I got versus what I needed was not the same, that's why we got an issue. Most of the time, like, how many times do you get told, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You can cry about it. There's nothing wrong with crying. Get that out. Express your emotion. Are you feeling sadness or shame or anger or disgust, like, or anything? Why don't you tell me how you're feeling? How many times do you get to do that? And then be expected to now, as an adult, I'm supposed to be able to have a healthy relationship with myself and the world? No, that's crazy. Y'all tripping. Ain't no way. It's one of the reasons I'm like, I mean, people be like, oh, well, he acting a fool. I bet. It's rough. Like, I feel like emotionally, the same way we think about like toddler phase and emotionally, I consider like the front end of my relationship with my husband, my toddler phase. And we always understand the toddlers, most of the frustration, most of the time when they be tripping, I got a toddler right now, and I'd be like, it's because he cannot understand what they're saying. And my son has this habit of he'll say something and I'll be like, I don't understand. And I like express it to me or I'll tell him to show me. But sometimes he just goes like, this morning he said, dude, this is ridiculous. My son is 3.
I'd have been like, oh yeah? It's ridiculous for you?
And the gasp, and I was just like, and all I said was like, I know it's frustrating, baby. I just don't understand. And it's clear as day to him, blah, 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 blah. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's not, and that's frustrating. Like, can you imagine living with someone, this woman you have known almost your whole life, and all I'm saying is, I want a cookie for breakfast or something. Ain't nothing that simple. You ain't getting no way. But like, that's how I feel like when you look at relationships and phases, like I was very much in my toddler phase. I feel like, you're not understanding me. You're also not understanding me because I ain't saying nothing, which can also be something. But I feel like the access that is granted, the expectations we have, not just for men, but for women as well, when it comes to expressing our emotions and stuff like that, is very difficult in the Black community because it's not very safe for us to acknowledge or express emotions. So just the assumption that we should be able to do it just because we like someone. You liking someone isn't, it can make you put forth greater effort, but you can't create an ability that you don't have and that you haven't worked on. Like, I can love you to death. And if I've never been shown how to express my emotions appropriately, or if I've never worked on it, I'm still going to suck at it. Right. And it doesn't mean I don't love you. I don't have the skill, is one of the reasons why I say, love is amazing. And, you still need effort. So I feel like when it comes to Black people in their relationships, overall, Black men and Black women, like, we also got to acknowledge, like, how long before, what age were you when you realized that you could actually talk about your feelings and not be called like a punk? Was it a year ago? Maybe you got some time.
No, that's true. That's very true. Like, I didn't get to that point until probably like, when did I realize that I was able to talk about my emotions? Probably like 18, 19, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe. There are some people in this world, most of the time as European Americans, who have been empowered to do that their whole lives. So when people do comparisons of like different races, ethnicities, and talk about like they're comfortable, like, they're comfortable expressing their emotions. They were never shown that their emotions were a threat. Why the freak wouldn't they be comfortable? I'd be concerned if they weren't more comfortable expressing their emotions. When you live in a world that affects your very existence and your very presence, and you're allowed to be yourself, why would you not be more comfortable with yourself? You're born on third base. Why am I surprised that you ran a home run?
Right.
Not surprising, but I feel like we don't grant. It's not just men; it's women too. I don't feel like I like acknowledge, like, even with women, it took a while for me to realize, like, what, you can like me or not like me. I'm not gonna like change my tone. I'm not gonna try to like act like I don't know the answer when I do. I'm not gonna have concerns about like falling into the angry Black woman trope because that wasn't my whole life. There's a whole aspect of authenticity being a privilege as well. I didn't have that my whole life, and I still deal with. It's like it's tough out here.
Yeah, like, man. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. And I feel like we've talked a lot, and we haven't gotten to the question that I want to ask you. So I definitely want to get into this. No, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. We've had great conversation, so I'm not even tripping. But the question that huh? You said what?
Chicken or fish?
No. The question that.
Naima, don't let him do that to you, okay?
You're right. She don't. She does.
Don't. You deserve a variety. You deserve, okay?
Yo.
This man, the boss is Naima, don't let him do that to you.
Nah, she don't. She doesn't, man. Whenever we have a meal and she don't want it, you guess who's going out to get the other meal? Me. Okay? She don't. That's why I asked the question. I need to know why we doing this. But anyway, I get it. So, okay. So I teach a webinar, right? I always teach a webinar. We have a series where we teach Black men, specifically, mainly, how to find Black therapists, right? And as part of that webinar, I always tell them, like, it's hard to find Black therapists because of a variety of reasons. And we have a licensed Black psychologist on the podcast. So I wanted to ask you, why is it so hard right now for Black people to find Black therapists, psychologists in their area that can help them and support them through what it is that they're going through?
Oh, there's a couple reasons. I mean, okay, so one, it could be preference in terms of like some people prefer to work with psychologists, which are doctoral carrying individuals, which is me, and some people are okay with master's level individuals as well. I don't know where to get the preference from. I was talking to my best friend, and at one point she told me, she was like, I always thought psychologists were solely for like, you know, and mind you, she's a nurse practitioner. She's like, you know, if you have to. I don't know why you're whispering, because it's just me and you at the crib. And two, how do you not know nothing about my job? We've been friends for over a decade. Like, what? But anyway, it could be that level of expertise. It could be the fact that, like, deciding to become a therapist or a psychologist is an expensive endeavor overall. And Joe hates us, clearly. So there's that. So when you think about the fact that, like, within the Black community, you have, you know, we significantly have, like, a lower household income and significantly less access to being able to fund things. You know, getting out of high school, getting some independence and deciding, hey, what I'm going to do is, you know, be in school until I'm 35 and then possibly see some semblance of income. Most of us have to support ourselves and support our families, you know, so even being able to go to training programs. When we get into those training programs, a lot of times you don't see things that represent yourself. I never would have become a psychologist if I did not take my first psych class at my undergrad school, at my HBCU Fisk, because understanding that like psychology could be about Black people as well, like that it was already embedded in the curriculum because we're at a Black school, so we're gonna talk about Black stuff versus that you hearing about like Freud and all these people who don't look like me. Like, why would I want to go into a field where you're not even talking about me, people that look like me, and helping them and serving them in the intro classes? Why would I think that this field is for me?
Right.
Like, oh, the more degrees I get, the less people that look like me, and less people look like me, the more racism is rampant. Like, my PhD program was some of the worst mental health I've ever had. I had a white professor said, you know, European American professor said the N-word in class. I done had like just microaggression after microaggression, right? So start, you may not want to finish, you know, with this expensive endeavor. With Black men and Black women in particularly, a lot of times I've been asked about like, not a lot of times, but I always add in, because I feel like it's my duty. Like, a lot of times, and this is a side, there's feminism and there's womanism, right? Like, womanism was very, like, the aspect of, like, affirming, like, the Black identity and empowering them. But a lot of people need to realize, like, womanism is not only about Black women. One of the issues that people have with feminism, and that didn't include the Black man, womanism is also about Black men, too. Like, it's not only about, like, supporting Black women, it's Black men, too. So I always feel the need, because I'm a woman, is to be like, you know, we can talk about, you know, let's talk about therapists, but let's also talk about like the reason why there's less Black male therapists. And you have a whole entire lifetime of not being affirmed in your ability to express your emotions. You know, your skin is weaponized. So it's always an issue of like what you do, even when it's like to your European American counterparts, you're getting disciplined more, you're being told you can't express your emotions. If you're even encouraged to go to school, why would you go into a field where the whole entire purpose is to help people with their emotions when you haven't even been affirmed to express your own?
Right.
And then for the people who actually go through with the aspect of the licensure and the undergrad, because I have a bachelor's, 2 masters, a doctorate. I had to do an internship and a postdoc. And then I also had to get licensed. I'm licensed in like 30 states and stuff like that. Say we go all the way to the end. As soon as I walk into a clinic, I got to wait. Because there's not any of us. So part of it is the aspect of like the training from the very beginning. We're not affirming Black children to be able to express their emotions, say that emotions are safe, and say that you can contribute to your community in that realm. From the college aspect, we're not making sure that Black people and people of color are represented in the curriculum so they can see the way that it can contribute to your life and your well-being. Because what I have found with working and specializing in like Black people is very much like we use our job, some aspect of our job as a form of activism. Because if you're in a marginalized class, if you're in a population that's consistently getting treated poorly, we find some way to contribute to our community. And it's not always going to be an active service and volunteering. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's the fact that we take a job that we know will contribute to our community in a way, right? Think about the reason why you create this whole entire community, right? Why would you choose a job that you don't feel like can contribute to your community in any way? When I started training for psych, I forget who it was. It was somebody at a barbecue. And I was like, you know, Black people don't go to therapy. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Mm.
So then we got the education thing. Then we got the aspect of like there aren't enough training programs or scholarship programs specifically for that, right? And then we get to the aspect of like when we finally do get out, we're working with so many people that our caseload gets filled up. And then like let's even talk about like if you have the aspect of your caseload getting filled up and being able to provide the services and stuff like that and it being expensive, then there's the whole aspect, because I know everybody has this aspect. It's like, well, I found her, but she don't accept insurance. So what the freak am I? She don't accept insurance. There's the aspect of the battle with like the devil, aka insurance companies. Insurance companies are the devil. There's so many issues with insurance. One, it's too many people in my patient's business, in my opinion. It's too many eyes on my patient's documents. I very much like write my patient. When I was in training for my first master's, my ethics professor was like, write your notes as if you are fine with them being read in front of a courtroom, including your patient. Like, we're not saying be deceptive, but we're saying like share the information that needs to be shared. I never share direct quotes. You don't need to know, because I don't know, who has, especially if you accept insurance, like it's none of their business between me and my patient.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we psychoeducation regarding drug health and things like that. AKA, I told him like, listen, now you done said you wanted to stop smoking, and then you just smoked like 4 times last weekend, and you told me and she was gonna work on being around the people that you contribute to smoking more. But once again, psychoeducation about stuff like we covering the topics, but I'm not about to worry about my patient losing his job because he over here getting high every weekend. We're working on it. It's like it's a journey, right? A lot of people have eyes on your documents when it comes down to it. When it comes to insurance, there's certain things they will cover and they will not cover. They want a diagnosis first off, which are incredibly stigmatizing, especially since we diagnose according to this huge book called the Diagnostic Statistical Criteria Manual, which is biased in terms of like depression, in terms of like it's always in a comparison of like European Americans, like how they express depression and stuff, and would it be appropriate if I even name you that? Like people get assessed inappropriately. A lot of times I'll see black girls, and I actually just talked to the Department of Defense about this, like getting diagnosed with like conduct disorder and behavior disorder. And I'm like, that kid has PTSD. That kid has depression. Now, conduct and behavior disorders will get treated a certain way, and depression and PTSD will get treated a certain way.
Right.
But when my skin is what you fear and it's already weaponized, you're already afraid of the way I engage with you, you can't assess me appropriately.
Right.
Like, oh, well, I feel like he's acting out in a tantrum. I feel like Jamal is acting out in a tantrum and he don't know how to control himself. I feel like Connor needs some help calming down and needs some breathing exercises. They're exhibiting the same behavior. Why the freak is Connor depressed and Jamal got an attitude problem? Right? So like if you're asking me to fit you into this little box to diagnose, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. Also being told that like certain treatments won't be covered. There's just certain like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is seen as like the gold standard for certain treatments. When you go through insurance, they will let you know what diagnoses they will cover. So they may decide they don't like your diagnosis and they're not going to cover it. And they'll tell you like, they got depression. You got 6 to 8 sessions before we stop paying for it. And we're going to look at your records to make sure you're adhering to the treatment that we decided. And no, these are not clinicians. These are not psychologists saying, with my years of training, I think this is better. That's not the case. And then we decided to pay you. But 2 months later, and these are called clawbacks, we decided actually like looking at your document, you actually didn't adhere to the treatment that we thought you should adhere to the treatment. So even though we covered 8 weeks of sessions, we want that money back. Because after further investigation, you didn't adhere to what we thought. Or after further investigation, even though you called us multiple times, spent hours upon hours of time trying to get us to pay for the work that you already did, hours that you could have spent working on another caseload, helping another person, you spent hours on the phone with us. No, on the phone. You spent hours on hold to be on the phone with us. We said that we accepted that insurance. We actually don't. So we're going to need our money back. In addition, the average aspect of like reimbursement rate, like charging for therapy as a psychologist, my psychologist charges $150. She's actually on the low end because she's in Maryland, like $150. I feel like she in New York, it's like $200 or something like that, right? The reimbursement rate is like on average like 60, maybe 60, 75. So like if I'm doing, and not to mention like when it comes to the money, it's not like when you guys walk into session, we don't just turn on session and be like, all right, an hour worth of work is worth $150. Not only have we like done assessment and treatment plan and me check on the homework I gave you, if I gave you any homework, and looking at your progress, and checking in on notes from the previous session and talk about the direction that we're going to go this session and come up with different options and things like that. The hour, I mean, the 50 minutes to an hour that I see you, hey, I don't spend like over like 45 minutes to an hour thinking about like where we're going to go forward because, you know, according to goals of what you want to do. And according to do that, that's my job to keep us on task with goals. That's not your job because that's not what you're paying me for. In addition to the fact that a lot of times with people telling you what to do and having eyes on your files and all this other stuff, a lot of people just feel like it doesn't protect their patients. And a lot of black therapists like get burnt out quicker because we do see a higher caseload. When I first started, I was seeing way more people than I could handle mental health wise. I got trained. My training is more so in trauma-based interventions, community mental health, and like assault and trauma and stuff like that with children and adults and families. And that's a really intense thing to like walk into work every single day, see people look like you, and have to talk them through. You know, you're kind of ingesting pain and helping with healing for a living. I remember like at one point, I was dealing more with kids, and like there was an aspect of like a lot of my kids were having issues with being like assaulted in childcare. And every single day, I had to drop my baby off at daycare, and that takes a toll. You know, like when I'm dealing with Black people, and depending on what you specialize in, I'm dealing with my patients who right now are dealing with a significant amount of racism-related stress in the workplace, and I'm walking through session after session after session, 5 to 6 patients a day or whatever, dealing with racism-related stress, and then I end that, and then I become a human in this world, and then I deal with my own aspects of racism-related stress and having to manage that. There's an aspect of compassion fatigue because Black people are coming in with different issues that are typically seen in the first place, as well as you dealing with them as well, you know, as a Black person, right? Like I always felt like I wanted to create a community solely for activists, like Black activists, a support community solely for Black activists, because it's so hard to take the time to like your whole entire job is monitoring like the way that the world engages with Black people. And a lot of times it's awful. Yeah. But it's your job, right? Yeah. So you have compassion fatigue, and I feel like people get burnt out. They get burnt out quicker because either they're taking on more patients because they are accepting insurance. So instead of, you know, charging like $150 a session or something like that, they're getting reimbursed $60 a session. And so in order to pay for, you know, we have licensing fees, we have continuing education fees, we have liability insurance, we have rental fees, we have utilities. If you're doing telehealth, you know, you have to pay for like the platform to do telehealth and keep your documents HIPAA and stuff like that. You're paying for that. And because of that, you're taking insurance, and you have to take more patients, which ultimately does a disservice because the strength of therapy is the fact that you get to slow it down and you get someone to take the time to process all your stuff. You need to have less patients to do that. Well, people get burnt out. Yeah. And it's just, it's a lot. I think there need to be way more programs that make it a point to change the way education and mental health is done. Like with Black Psych, I'm a primary investigative research study where the whole purpose is to decolonize like introduction to psych classes. So you get that. I think it needs to be scholarship and training programs solely for people who are interested in going into mental health and psychology. And like you get a scholarship for that. The Taraji, the Boris Henson Foundation, they do that. I think the Mental Wealth Alliance with like Charlamagne God, they do that too. There need to be more scholarships directed towards getting us in those fields. I wish we could just abolish insurance. But say like, don't just assume that because your psychologist doesn't accept insurance that they don't find a way to manage it. I charge $75 a session.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah,
that's like less than half of anyone.
That's very generous. Yeah, that's very.
I very much see it as like I try to garner the money from other places. I'm likely going to get into groups so that I can help more people because there's only so many individual sessions I could do. At one point with the patient, we charge like an hourly rate. So like, which was like whatever they made an hour. That's how much I charge them. Right. Pro bono or sliding scales. Some people may acknowledge the fact that like maybe, you know, there's only so little I can ball my rates and you can't afford like individual, but maybe we start off with like group. I do a group because groups are always significantly less money than individual. You carry the group until you get into a different space, and maybe you'll do the group weekly and you'll see me bi-weekly. Right. Like, so you're getting the services you need. But privilege, I don't think it's just therapy. Like, I feel like, you know, therapy is meant to be there. It shouldn't be a privilege. I think everyone deserves therapy. But I think one of the biggest things I recommend to people are like communities like this. Like, I always say we're only as educated as narratives are shared. But I always say like family of choice and family of origin are the same thing. Many of us come from, you know, individuals come from families that aren't supported and stuff like that. Choose another one. Choose a family. Now find a support system. These communities are amazing because there was nothing like them when I started my training. You
Yeah.
would, luckily I was at a HBCU, and Nashville is like amazing in terms of like Fisk is a HBCU. You walk down the street, right next door is Harry, which is a HBCU med school. Down the school, you got TSU, which is a HBCU right there. Like we all live the same block. That's all right there. But like when I left, when I left, I'm like, well, how do I find other black people to look like me?
Bro, yeah. I went to HBCU too. I went to DSU, Del State. And
I'm like, I don't know there.
oh, he does? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. What grade is he in?
He's a freshman.
He's a freshman? Okay, yeah.
Kinds of debauchery, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't, hopefully he keeps his head on straight. When I was in DSU, man, nobody even really knew me like that. I was just in my books. But I was saying all that to say, right, like after I graduated, I moved to Massachusetts. So you can imagine. Yes. I went from seeing black people, young black people, my age, talking about the newest music and what's going on in the culture and like what you wearing and like just being engulfed in the culture, to moving to probably like the whitest state that I ever been in and seeing white people not almost every day. I used to go into supermarkets in Massachusetts and be the only black person in the supermarket. Like I'm talking cashiers, I'm talking people mopping up the floors, I'm talking customers, I'm talking people working in the back, people in the parking lot. Like, I mean, like I'm the only black person walking up in there. And people are looking at you like, fuck. And you can feel that. You know what I'm saying? Like when I walk in there, I used to always tell my bros after I got home, I'd be like, bro, I hate it here, bro. There's so much tension. And I know my coworkers are racist, but they're just not racist in that way with me. But I know that they're racist. Like I could just feel it. You know?
Who says the word when they not around you?
Yeah.
We can tell when y'all be saying the N word when y'all not around. It's like we not come on. Like nobody. Nobody.
So yeah, like man. So like I always remember that. Just like that's why I feel like this community is so important, and why I created Safe Haven, because like, yes, Instagram is important, but Instagram doesn't care about whether or not we're able to really interact as a community in the way that we want to, which is why Safe Haven exists, and we do the pairing with the therapist inside of Safe Haven. But even outside of that, because like you said, therapy in itself isn't enough, right? Sometimes, most of the times, we need that community. We need other men that look like us, that know what we're going through, to talk to, right? Like we just had a community forum yesterday. We had like 10 to 12 black men in there, and we just go around, we share like what we're going through, and we talk about what we're experiencing, and we receive support from each other. Like, you don't hear about that from black men. We don't really have those spaces, and that's what we facilitate inside of Safe Haven, on top of getting therapists to come in and lead groups, and then doing the pairing, and giving men just a space to really be able to express and to also receive that support, because we just don't have forms that are giving us a place for us to receive that support from men that we know have our best interests at heart and are also aligned with where we're going, like going through the healing journey as well, man. So yeah, anytime you talk about support, I always think about Safe Haven, because I'm like, yo, man, like this is exactly what we're trying to do and what we are doing. Like, because the men that are in there, like they're really benefiting from it. When they go in there and they actually take advantage of the resources, there's some men that come in there, they pay their subscription and they just stay low for a little bit. Like I had a guy that I was talking to, he was like, yeah, I was feeling some type of way, so I went inside Safe Haven, grabbed something, and I just dipped. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. It's cool. You don't have to be in there every day. But there's some men that are like, they are in there. Like they're commenting, they're making posts, and then they're pulling up to all the events. And like we have different types of, like there's something for any type of man that's actively looking for that healing. So you don't got to be in there every day. Or if you want to be in there every day, you're going to get that support, right? Some people need more support than others. But yeah, man, it's important for us to have those networks, man. Like one thing I'm always jealous about when it comes to women, I feel like y'all like really support each other, bro. Like the way I see black women interact with each other, I get jealous sometimes. I'm like, why can't we have that? Like, and I have my bros and we got our groups, and like we'll big each other up when it comes to certain things, but like just without even thinking about it. Like, cause sometimes for us as black men, A lot of the times it's like, should I say that? Is that gonna come off gay? Or am I allowed to say that? Like, am I allowed to support him in that way? Am I gonna be dick riding if I say, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so many different things that I don't feel like y'all really deal with. Like my girl, the way she talks about her friends, she's like, yeah, oh my God, I'm so happy for it. And she'll call a friend up, and they'll be talking about stuff that's going on. She'll encourage her friend, and I'm just like, yo, like damn, I want one of my bros to do, I want to do this. Like, I want to be able to do this with no with having no feeling about it, like having no second thought about it. So that's one thing that I'm trying to do, and not only in the platform but in Safe Haven as well. Just like, yo, just creating a place where men can really receive that support, because we don't do that enough, man. Like, we really don't do that enough, man. Like, truly.
I would say that's like, if I had to, because I tell my husband sometimes, like a lot of times, I'm like, man, being a woman is hard as hell. Being a Black woman is really tough. And I'll be like, but I couldn't give up the sisterhood. But like, man,
tell you,
like, man, if I could just leave my uterus somewhere, I'm sick of this shit. I like, just to be honest, look at a Black woman, like, it's just sometimes it just be so freaking exhausting, yo. And I just, I'm not in the mood for this some days, right? But I think it's always important to realize and like to understand that like that is a learned behavior. Like the way that like that has been like put into Black men, that's a learned behavior. And I always state that it's a learned behavior because I want you to understand that you could learn a new behavior. Like sometimes, you know, Black men will say like, this is just who I am and this is just like my personality. And I always say like that is learned, because once you tell someone it's learned, they can understand that you can learn something else.
Yeah.
Like you can learn something else. I saw this one post, I'm be mindful of time. I told you I'm gonna suck at the time thing.
Nah, it's all good. That's why we went. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I saw this one post, this Black guy was using the car and he was like, bro, man, you gotta do better as a community with men. He said, you know, one of my friends went through a whole divorce, ain't tell nobody.
Damn.
Ain't tell nobody. Dude got divorced. Told no one. And he was like, I don't know if he didn't feel comfortable telling us. I don't know if he thought we was going to, you know, bust on him. I don't know if I don't know what he thought. But like the fact that he went through such a significant change and we didn't even know until he was like, you know, somebody checked in and he was like, oh, no, we ain't together. You ain't together with your wife?
Yeah, that's wild. That's not a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even if that's your girl, you still need to tell your bros, like, we need to be able to support you through that. A breakup is a big thing. And a lot of men don't know how to deal with breakups. I'm going to just say this because it's very important since we talking about this. Yo, bro, most of the times I have men that reach out to me that are really going through it, that are really depressed and like going through suicidal ideations, passive suicidal ideation. Like, it's because of a breakup or a divorce or like something something that has to do with a relationship that they held very, very near and dear. A lot of Black men don't have a process for dealing with breakups. So as a man, I, especially in this field, always get weary or concerned when a man is not vocal about going through a breakup, because I know for a fact he's going through it, because I know a lot of men don't have a process for how they deal with it, right? And like, we have to be, those are the things that we need to be talking about the most. Like, yeah, me and Shorty or me and my partner, we broke up and I'm not okay right now, bro. Like, truly, I'm really not okay. And we need to be,
just to say I'm not okay. Like, you know, like people don't feel like they can do like the touchy-feely stuff with people identify that Black people are called raw, but like Black people are more likely to actually just express their stress and distress in terms of like physical symptoms like stomach aches, headaches, back pain. It's easier to express that. Men actually experience depression in a different way. It is not even just like fight or flight. It's also like a freeze response. And people think of freeze, they think solely of like not moving, but freeze response can also be avoidance things.
Yeah.
When it's having significant like promiscuity or like sleep with a bunch of people, which I ain't about to judge you for who you sleep with, but when you get to the point where you realize that you're not even enjoying it, you're just doing it as like, I'm just trying to avoid something else, that's an issue. Significant game use because you're trying to, you know, leave reality. It ain't got nothing wrong with video games. You enjoy playing them all the time. That's fine. But like, you do have to accept the fact that like, maybe this is getting excessive, right? More taking behavior, more substance use behavior, more risky behavior. Like, dude, like breaking up over here. You start drag racing right after y'all broke up.
Yeah.
You know, like, so And those are stress responses. Those are the way that your body responds to like things and like significant transitions and stuff like that are an issue. Like so many times people will be like, women experience depression more. And that's not true. Women get diagnosed with depression more. But that's because I think most of the time once again, it comes down to assessment, and especially assessment of Black men. We are not looking for the right stuff. I tell you, person like 15, whatever it is. Like, well, he stays snapping and he's irritable. Irritability, especially in children, is comparable to depressed mood. Like if I'm diagnosed with someone, you have to have depressed mood. But irritability and low frustration tolerance, synonym with depressed mood. You're not meant to walk around irritated all the time, but people who don't know that, people who aren't good at their job, people who don't take the time to like understand the way different cultures express things, don't get it. I'm sure somebody will see my husband's, don't get Black men, see their silence is like, oh, that guy's mean. I just see a Black dude living in their own skin, don't feel like talking.
Yep.
They not being stoic. They sit here chilling. Like, what you want me to talk just to talk? Like, like sit here chilling in my skin. But some people will see Black men just deciding like not wanting to engage and just want to chill as a threat. Like that's an issue. You can't even, man, I can't even sit. I gotta sit here. You want me to sit here and smile to put you at ease? I'm just chilling, dude. I'm showing you my dinner.
Bro.
Like it's crazy. The expectation, like that's exhausting for Black men. I know it's exhausting for Black women. It's exhausting for Black men too. Like I'm not talking because I don't want to talk.
Man.
I promise you I'm not thinking about nothing. I promise you. I really am just sitting here chewing. I'm listening to myself chew. I don't know. People who don't get that will see that as a threat. And that's the biggest issue I would say mental health wise is like assessment. Like people assess stuff wrong. And I also think like a lot of clinicians are not good at their job. Personally. And I don't think you have to be Black to work well with Black patients. I think you need to take an interest in educating yourself and the way different people manifest stuff and the way that it impacts us. And the people who are most interested in us are us most of the time.
Right.
We go, we take the extra step. We do the extra training. My training is more than like most of the people who train with me. You're supposed to take like one training site, like you're training to be a clinician. I took 2 a year because I had to take the one that deal with the general population, and I had to take the one in DC and Baltimore so I could work with the people I knew I was going to be working with.
Right.
Worked out in that.
Man.
But it's a choice. And you got to decide what you want to do. I was like, nah, I'm working with my people. We're going to thug it out. It was rough, though.
I love it. Man, and the crazy thing is, like, well, not the crazy thing is, the dope thing is that you have so many, like, so you're licensed in, 30 states, right?
Yeah, I think it's 30 now.
Yeah. Yo, I don't think people understand how difficult that is. Like, the amount of work that I remember you made one post where you talked about, like, your education and your licensure and like all of the schooling that you've done. And I remember I think I commented like, damn. I was just like, yo, like the camera art, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like you really done a lot, man. So I truly, truly appreciate you because this has definitely been a dope episode. And I want people to be able to connect with you and find you and like support you. So please, 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 drop all of your information, how people can support you, anything that you got coming up, anything that you can like announce or anything like that, please, so that people can support.
Wow. I feel like all of my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook, even though anybody on here going on Facebook, is Raquel Martin PhD. My website is Raquel Martin PhD. My YouTube is Raquel Martin PhD, but don't nobody go on my YouTube. I'm gonna be doing lately I've been feeling like I don't get to engage with my community as much. That's the one thing people don't tell you about, like when your platform increases. I legit feel like mine happened overnight. And I couldn't respond to the comments the way I used to.
I hate that. Yeah, I absolutely hate that.
Because like I felt anxious not being able to help as many people. Now I'm like, I can't respond to other comments. It's stressing me out. So I'm actually trying to do it's gonna be like an Ask Dr. Martin thing on YouTube. People can send me questions. Oh, I don't know the email for that. People can send me questions. I'm gonna answer them on YouTube.
Okay.
Email. Oh, it's Ask Dr. Martin at RaquelMartinPhD.com.
Okay.
It's a question. At first, I thought I was going to be able to cover a couple of questions an episode. Now, mind you, this isn't a substitute for mental health treatment and stuff like that, but I think most of the time people want to ask me direct stuff and, whatever. I thought I would be able to answer like a couple of questions an episode. I don't think I'm going to be able to because they some real Answer a good question.
Yeah, you may have to spend some time on them. Yeah.
It's a top one. Doing that. But yeah, Raquel Martin, PhD.
And
Probably like every day. Yeah, I think I post like every day.
yeah, you're one of the more consistent people on social media, especially when it comes to the mental health field. And for those of y'all that are looking, it's RAQUELMARTIN on all social media platforms. Definitely tap in. You will learn a lot and support, because Dr. Martin is out here doing her thing. I am so happy to have had you on the podcast. We definitely got to do this again, do some more stuff again.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I followed you for a minute. So like every time people building communities, my first thought is like, oh, that's exhausted. And also like, that's what's up. Even I was actually at an event here in Nashville where it was like a spoken word poetry thing where they were talking about like being Black in Nashville and stuff like that. And I shared the same thing. I need to share the video, the clip, but I was like, build your own community. And I was like, there's one online, I was like, Express Yourself Black Men, you can follow that. I was like, you go to Heal. I was like, you could do all these things. Because one of the issues, like being Black in Nashville, the whole spoken word was about like how difficult it is to be Black.
Oh man, my heart.
When I did the talk back, I was like, you don't have to stay anywhere forever. But like the wonderful thing about these communities is like, you cross the state lines. If you got your phone and you got your app, you can find support.
Right.
So if you build your own community, there are communities out there. And I definitely like dropped your name. Was like, this is fun. I was like, I don't know many dedicated to Black. I this is the one I know, and then I know Black Men Heal and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say that's what needs to be done, because we can't expect other people to do it.
That's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing I remember seeing. One of my friends said they posted something where they're like, build the thing that you wish, or create the thing that you wish existed. And that's what I always think about when it comes to Express Yourself Black Man. This is something I wish I had when I was really depressed and going through it when I was in college. So I'm just creating it in that image, or creating the image that I wish I had at that time. So yeah, man. Thank you so much, Dr. Martin. It's definitely been a dope episode. Absolutely.
All right, y'all see I'm in a suit. I am never in a suit, but today is a special day. We just signed a contract with 2 Black organizations. They're gonna offer therapy and medical care to Safe Haven and the Express Yourself Black Man platform. We're partnering with both Whole Brother Mission and the Healthcare Plug. I'm gonna have Malik, the CEO of Whole Brother Mission, and Simone from the Healthcare Plug explain exactly what that partnership means.
I'm Malik Blade, CEO of the Whole Brother Mission. We are a nonprofit offering mental health services to Black men nationwide. We have a network of over 3,000 mental health professionals. We're offering an exclusive low price for therapy to members of Safe Haven and free group therapy. All you need to do is join the low-cost therapy group. And there's more. We're not just focused on your mental health, we're focused on creating a space for holistic healing. So I'm about to pass it over to Simone so she can tell you how the Healthcare Plug is doing that.
Hey, I'm Simone Kenya, CEO of the Healthcare Plug, the nation's first medical concierge service for Black and Brown communities. Our goal is to increase the access that marginalized groups have to the highest healthcare quality possible. Of our partnership with Express Yourself Black Man, we're offering free round-trip transportation, assistance with getting signed up for affordable insurance plans, and physician referrals. So we'll get you plugged in with Black and Brown doctors in your area. All you have to do is sign up for Safe Haven and join the medical concierge group.
Safe Haven is the only platform where Black men can get access to a support network of other Black men that can relate to exactly what they're going through. And on top of that, they get access to low-cost therapy, the free medical concierge service, free group therapy, and a personal finance group with information on how you can take your situation financially to the next level. So at this point, why are you not in Safe Haven? So if you're ready to start taking your healing and your life seriously into the next level, join Safe Haven. The link is in my bio.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on, somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you.